So good morning students. We are going to discuss about the topic today, Sale of Goods Act 1930. What is the Sale of Goods Act? It is actually an extension of the law of contract that is we discussed earlier. Law of Contract 1872 is basically dealing with all the contractual obligations that happens between the buyer and the seller for transfer of obligations between parties, execution of their respective responsibilities under the contract. These are all the studies which you have already discussed under the law of contract or Indian Contract Act 1872. Slowly and steadily there was a necessity for a legislation which should govern the relationship between two or more parties in specific covering special transactions like sale or goods that needs to be transferred from one person to another, property needs to be transferred from one person to another. There are legislations which was required. When a person who is a owner of a building, a person who is a owner of a property wants to transfer the property to another, there is a necessity for the other person called the buyer to buy the property. When he is ready to transfer, the other person should buy the property. So the buying and the selling of the property and its related dealings, etc., that is governed by a Transfer of Property Act legislation, which is introduced by the Government of India through an Act of Parliament passed in the houses of the Parliament. Slowly and steadily, there was a necessity for commercial dealings. Commercial dealings means buying and selling of goods, buying and selling of the properties, and there was necessity for services also. So, but what happens is the Sale of Goods Act was a legislation passed to regulate the dealings between buyers and sellers. What happens? What are all the legal provisions that governs? Who is the buyer? Who is the seller? What are all the responsibilities of the buyer? What are all the responsibilities of the seller? What is the need and why there is a need for a price, which is called consideration? What are all the essential elements of the contract for sale that is going to be executed between the buyer and the seller? Is it necessary to have two parties? What happens if the seller doesn't deliver to the buyer after receiving the money, but he doesn't deliver the goods to the buyer? What happens if the seller delivers the goods but the buyer doesn't pay the price? So we call it as an unpaid seller, because seller is now unpaid but he has already delivered the goods. He is not paid for the goods. What are all his obligations? What happens if the buyer and the seller do not have good relationship? What happens if the contract is broken, the seller and the buyer? What are all the legal implications? We call it as a breach of contract of the same. So these are all the various situations and circumstances which needs to be addressed, and just having Indian Contract Act 1872 doesn't going to solve this purpose. When there is a commercial dealing of buying and selling between parties, there is always a necessity to have a separate legislation to deal with all the matters that we discussed right now. So that is called the Sale of Goods Act 1930, which was passed as a legislation. In Sale of Goods Act, as I say, sale. So you need to first remember what is a sale. Sale means virpanai. In Tamil we call it as a virpanai. In English what we say is a transfer of goods from one person to another person. There is a transfer of ownership from one person to another person. So what are all the things which we need to discuss? As per provisions of Sale of Goods Act 1930, sale definition. A contract where, so it explains to explain the situation, where seller agrees to transfer property in the goods for a price. So here what happens is you need to be very clear about the definition that is being said. Contract, so obviously it is a contract. So the emanating point, the initial point is an agreement or a contract that exists between the buyer and the seller. So there has to be a contract in place. And in pursuance to the contract, the seller is going to transfer, he is going to give away his ownership, he is going to execute a transfer mode where he is going to transfer his own property to another person, or it is immediate, or he is going to agree to transfer. at a later point of time or will be subject to fulfillment of certain conditions is going to transfer. First is there is a contract, and then comes a term seller, the person who is selling the goods. Then he is going to transfer, means he is going to execute his ownership, transfer of the ownership or the title. Okay, the mode is called transfer, which is present or agrees to transfer, means at a future point of time he can also transfer. This is he can transfer at present or at future. Property in the goods. Property means ownership. This goods I am the owner, I am going to transfer or agree to transfer the ownership of the goods for price. Price means consideration. The money or the money's worth for the goods. Okay. So these are all the important elements in the sale. As per definition of the Indian Sale of Goods Act, the contract where seller transfers agrees to transfer the property in the goods for a price. You have to divide this and then study so that it is easy for you to remember the elements. Contract where the seller transfers or agrees to transfer property in the goods. Divide that and then for a price. So these are all the 5 different parts. You need to slowly, steadily, initially assimilate these definitions in your minds and then grasp the concepts. It is very easy for you to formulate the definitions of the sale. So when you come to sale, there are essential elements involved in the sale. What is essential elements involved in the sale? These are absolutely essential for a transaction to be regarded as a sale. So what are the things which are absolutely essential? There are 2 parties. First is there are 2 parties. There must be 2 parties involved in the contract. Without 2 parties, there cannot be a sale. I cannot make a sale to myself. I am the seller. The other party has to be the buyer. I am the buyer. The other party has to be the seller. So at any point of time, there should be 2 parties involved in the contract. And if one of them is a party, there is no other party. There is no sales. I cannot make a sale to myself. I have to sell to other person. So there has to be minimum 2 parties. And one of them is the buyer, the second one is the seller. Second, goods. The term goods, as per Indian Sale of Goods Act, has been clearly demarcated into different elements. And slowly we will go and study. When we go into the goods and types of goods, we will slowly go into that part. But essentially, for this moment right now, we will just say goods. There has to be goods. There has to be some products, there has to be some essential things which has to be delivered under the contract of sale, subject matter. Goods form the subject matter of the contract. In a contract, what we say, parties are the subject matter, parties are the contractual parties. Under a contract, if I am going to sell a building, building will be the subject matter of the contract. If I am going to sell my vehicle, car, cycle, bike, car, cycle, bike will be the subject matter of the contract. What forms the sale element is the subject matter of the contract. So in this case, under Sale of Goods Act, goods forms the subject matter of the contract. Goods may be movable goods or immovable goods. Goods which are movable from one place to another, or immovable goods can also be goods, but still goods carry the definition, therefore they are subject matter of the contract. Third is price. As I said in chapter number 3 under the law of contract, when we say consideration, that is the price here. So that is what here is mentioned. When you say price, money or money's worth for the goods. I am going to sell my goods for a value. I am going to sell my goods for a price. So what should be the price element? You need to remember, price is the monetary measurement of the goods. You are going to fix a value, and that value is the basis for you or for at the price at which you are going to sell the goods. The monetary consideration is termed as a price. If I am going to sell my car for 1 lakh, you are saying 1 lakh, right? That 1 lakh is the monetary value that you are going to fix for the car, which you are going to sell it to the buyer. Therefore, the subject matter is the car, the price fixed is a consideration. So here consideration for the car sold out is 1 lakh. Transfer. Transfer means I am going to put my end to my ownership and transfer my ownership to another. The process by which I am putting an end to my ownership and putting yourself as a owner, that process is called a transfer. So you are going to execute your mode of transferring the benefits or putting your end to your ownership and putting the other person responsible as a owner. That process is called a transfer. Then comes essential elements under section 10 of the Indian Contract Act. As we said, all the essential elements which are mentioned under section 10 of the Indian Contract Act, which forms a basis part, right, that needs to be there in every contract of sale. Offer and acceptance, consideration, capacity of the parties, free consent, legality of object, right, and then legal formalities and those stuffs. That is agreements not declared to be void, capacity of performance, and then we got as a consensus add item. And these are the essential elements which has to be there under the Indian Contract Act section 10, essential elements of contract. Those elements have to be there in the sale of contract of sale. Then only the contract of sale will be valid. So these are the two important points. Let me quickly recap the things which we have discussed. Sale is a contract where seller agrees to transfer the property in the goods for a price. We have to divide contract where the seller transfers or agrees to transfer, this is immediate or future, property in the goods ownership for a price which is consideration. Then comes the essential elements is two parties, buyer and the seller, goods which may be movable, immovable, but the goods must be falling within the definition of the term goods as per Indian Sale of Goods Act. That gives a definition, and only those goods covered under the goods category. Price is the consideration or the monetary value that fixed for the goods, and then transfer is the process by which you are putting an end to your ownership and you are putting the other person responsible as a owner. And what are the essential elements that is needed as a part of section 10 of the Indian Contract Act that has to be fulfilled as part of this Sale of Goods Act essential elements. These conditions are satisfied, then there exists a sale. Therefore, these essential elements of 5 elements have to be there in order to consider a contract as a sale contract, and this is a definition of sales. Okay. So, next topic we are going to discuss about is the difference between sale and agreement to sell. As we said, the Sale of Goods Act not only deals with the sale contract, it also deals with a peculiar term called agreement to sale. What is meant by agreement to sell? Agreement to sell. It is very clear. The English term is very clear. You are making an agreement for the purpose of sale. The sale may take place tomorrow, day after tomorrow, even after a month or after a year, depending upon the quality of the goods, the stages in which it is manufacturing, or the money position, etc. So there are several factors and features which are inducing this, but still, sale and agreement to sell are the two important concepts which are enunciated in the law of sale of goods. Agreement to sell, as such, it is an agreement that is being put for the purpose of making a sale. The agreement is entered now, but the sale may take place at a future point of time. So there is a transfer of ownership at a later point of time. The ownership, possession, etc. gets transferred at a later point of time, but the agreement is entered into now for a sale to take place in the future. That is called agreement to sell. Clear? Whereas sale is immediate. So these are the 5 important points. If you want to enunciate and you want to write an answer on sale versus agreement to sell, very clearly you can write down these points. I have clearly put that on the board. You have to just mention this. This is enough to be very clear, so that examiner understands and able to understand the concept between sale and agreement to sell. Sale is immediate. That is why it is called present. It is right now done. If I am going to make a sale of 1 lakh worth of car to B, A is going to sell his car to B for 1 lakh. So it is an immediate transaction. You are going to transfer the possession immediately. So it is an immediate transaction which is called present. Whereas sale is going to take place at a future, but the agreement is put now for a future transaction. Agreement entered now for a future transaction. That the sale is to take place at a future point of time. Therefore, the date of the sale relates to the future, it is called agreement to sell. The date of sale relates to the present time, it is sale. Sale, agreement to sell. Sale is immediate, agreement to sell is future. Second point is, sale is only for specific goods. For example, if I have a car which is already identified, which is presently available, I can make the sale because the goods are with me. I know, I am personally seeing the goods are visible, the goods are tangible, the goods are in my possession or somebody's possession. So whoever wants to sell, they know the goods are visible, they are available at present, so they can make a sale. So sale is available for specific goods, identified goods and present goods. Whereas agreement to sell is for future goods. The difference between this is, I will take a simple example. Whenever you order an item in Amazon or Flipkart or a Snapdeal, right? when you are going to order, many of the people used to notice that when they just log into the Amazon portal, they want to select, they want to buy a electrical item, they want to buy a musical system or iPod or whatever item they want to buy. You may find stock not available. Many of you would have seen stock not available or right now not deliverable, right now not available, etc. etc. So, which means that goods is to be produced. They have to contact that seller based on your order. They have to contact the manufacturer or the subsequent seller, get the item, make it available, and then only they will deliver to you. Correct? So, it is a perfect example for agreement to sell, because you may say, sir, where does an agreement I enter? Yes, you agree to an agreement, because many of the people don't know. They enter into the website of Amazon. You may have a small tick to the left. I agree to the terms and conditions. What is that? It is an online agreement. It is an online agreement. When you just tick off that small tick to the left, there is a T and C available. What is T and C? It is terms and conditions. I agree to the terms and conditions. So when you enter that online agreement, you are agreeing to the terms and conditions, whereby there is an agreement to sell the future goods, because the stock is not available right now. I will make you, sir, available. You may get a call from the Flipkart representative that, sir, you ordered this so and so, but the goods are not available. But I will make it available. I will get it from the manufacturer. I will contact the seller and make you available. So those are the cases where it is an example for future goods. Third is in case of breach of contract. Breach means there is a violation. Where there is a contract between the seller and the buyer, but there is a violation. There is a, both the parties are not fulfilling their obligation, or one party not fulfilling, the other party not fulfilling either case. There is a breach of contract. In that case, what happens? In a case of a sale. Sale means the ownership is transferred. Here ownership is not transferred. Please understand. Here sale is immediate, where you are transferring the possession. There is always a transfer of ownership that happened between the seller and the buyer. So there is a cancellation, or there is a cancellation of contract or violation, breach, etc. Seller can sue. Sue means file a case. Seller can file a case against the buyer for price. Please understand, for price. Because you are going to buy my product, you are not going to fulfill my obligation, or you already bought my product, give me the price. You have already bought it. I don't know whether you are using it or not. You have put me into trouble. You are creating a lot of tensions and problems. You are violating the terms and conditions of the contract. But somehow you bought the product from me. So I will file a case against you. You will have to pay me the price, because you bought the goods. You reimburse me the compensation. You pay me the price of the goods. So in case of breach of contract, seller can sue for the price. Whereas in the case of agreement to sell, seller can sue only for the damages and not the price, because agreement to sell, the ownership is not yet transferred. It is an agreement for the sale is to take place at a future point of time. Therefore, possession and ownership is still with the seller. It is not yet transferred to the buyer. We are just now entering into an agreement. That's all. There is no transfer of ownership, because the goods are yet to be produced, or goods are yet to be serviced, or goods are yet to be sold out. But seller still retains the ownership and possession. Therefore, an agreement to sell, the ownership is still with the seller. Therefore, there is a breach of contract subsequently happening between the buyer and the seller, where buyer is responsible for the breach. Seller will make the buyer responsible, file a case against the buyer for damages, because you have put me into trouble, give me compensation by way of damages, which may be equal to price or more than price, etc. etc. Seller will fix the damages and he will file a case against the buyer claiming the damages, not the price, because ownership is not transferred, so price cannot be recovered. Damages alone can be claimed by the seller. Fourth point is, if the seller becomes insolvent. In the case of a sale, there is a transfer of ownership done, but subsequently seller is declared insolvent. As I said, in insolvency, person doesn't have money, person doesn't have property. Insolvent is a person doesn't have money or property or assets. He is declared as an insolvent by the court of law. So seller is declared as an insolvent by the court of law. In the case of a sale where sale is already done, the buyer can recover the goods from the official assignee. Official assignee means a representative on behalf of the seller appointed by the court. Whenever seller is declared insolvent, the court will appoint a person called official assignee on behalf of the seller. So seller becomes insolvent. So official assignee retains the goods, and therefore buyer can recover the goods from the official assignee. Case of sale, ownership is transferred, but seller becomes insolvent. He cannot now become a owner, but on behalf of him, court appoints a representative called official assignee, who will be responsible for transferring the goods, because it is a sale contract. Seller cannot deal now because seller is declared insolvent. On behalf of him, official assignee appointed by the court can transfer the goods from the seller to the buyer side on behalf of the seller. Therefore, buyer can recover the goods from the official assignee in case of insolvency of the seller in a sale transaction. Whereas, case of agreement to sell, it is future. Therefore, in this case, if the buyer has paid the price, buyer from his side has paid the price, but there is an agreement to sell. It is not yet sold out, but the agreement stage itself, buyer has paid the price. And subsequently, finds seller becomes insolvent. Then in that case, he cannot recover the price, but he can only claim dividend because he has by mistakenly paid the price for ownership not yet transferred. So it is a buyer fault. Without even getting the goods transferred to him, he cannot get his money done or price paid to the seller. It is a fault on the part of the buyer because there is an agreement stage only. There is no transfer of ownership. So it is not a sale. It is only an agreement to sell. Therefore, the agreement stage itself, buyer has paid the price, maybe in advance, etc. He cannot recover the sale. In the event of insolvency of the seller, he can only claim rateable dividend. We call it as a rateable dividend means proportionate dividend. Because we call it proportionate because from the date of insolvency it has been declared by the seller, we will get a proportionate dividend. Last is risk of loss. In the case of sale, there is always a risk of loss which falls on the buyer. So, sale is done, it is up to the buyer to take proper possession of the goods that is being sold. If the buyer doesn't take proper possession, it is the buyer only who is responsible. Therefore, loss of goods falls on the buyer in the case of a sale. In case of agreement to sell, loss of the goods falls on the seller. As I said, it is only an agreement to sell. There is no transfer of ownership. Still, seller retains possession. In the event of loss of the goods, seller is responsible. Whereas in the case of sale, loss of goods, buyer is responsible. The next topic which we are going to discuss about is the sale and hire purchase contracts. You need to understand the next very important topic from your exam point of view, sale and hire purchase. Though sale and hire purchase seems to be two different elements, from the examination perspective, from the knowledge perspective as well, there is a certain distinction points between sale and hire purchase. Sale is immediate. Please understand, sale is immediate where your delivery of the ownership happens immediately. Whereas in case of hire purchase, there is always an option given by the hire seller to the hire purchaser to purchase the product immediately and pay the price in installments. For example, there is a popular cases happens in our daily life where we used to buy the grinder, mixie, etc. We used to buy it at full price and probably we will take that in installments. The price will be paid in installments, right? So the same way, right? So same way, in the same way we will be able to pay the price in installments. That is the hire purchase system. So primary difference between sale and hire purchase is that sale, the seller and the buyer are the parties. The parties to the sale will be seller and the buyer. Please understand, there are two parties, seller and the buyer. Whereas in the case of hire purchase, we call it, instead of seller and buyer, we call it as a hire vendor, hire purchase. Hire vendor and hire purchase. So there are two parties. Second is, position of the buyer is that of the owner. In case of the sale, when I make the sale, seller transfers the ownership. So ownership passes from the seller to the buyer. So automatically buyer becomes the owner of the goods. Whereas in the case of hire purchaser, once he buys the goods from the hire vendor, we call it as hire vendor, as a seller, hire purchaser as the buyer. This is a terminology, right? So here, the purchaser who is buying the goods on hire purchase from the hire seller or hire vendor, when he buys the goods, his position is that of a bailee. He is not the full owner until the payment of the last installment. He doesn't acquire ownership. Whereas in the case of sale, once the payment is made for the price, immediately he becomes the owner. Whereas in the case of hire purchase, till there are last installments paid, until then hire purchaser, even though he has the product in his hands, he will be a bailee. He will not be the owner. He will be a bailee. He has to take care of the goods as a bailee. What he will do? He will take care of the goods of the bailiff, take care in the ordinary manner, as if treat his goods as if his own goods, take due care, caution of them, see that it is not getting destroyed. Those responsibilities applicable for a hire purchaser. Even though he bought the goods from the hire vendor, please remember students, he is going to take care of the goods as a bailee. because he will not acquire ownership until the payment of the last installment. Assuming the price of the grinder is 10,000, there are 10 installments, so 1,000 each. Until the payment of the last installment of 1,000, that is the 10th installment of 1,000, the person who is purchasing the grinder will never become the owner of the grinder, because on the 10th installment paid, the 10,000 gets fully knocked off, and then only he becomes the owner of the property. So that is the difference between hire purchase and the sale. Third is, buyer cannot terminate the contract, as such is bound to pay the price. In the case of a sale, buyer and the seller are the parties, as you know. But in the case of a sale, buyer can never terminate the contract or put an end to the contract, because it's a sale contract. Ownership is transferred, therefore he has to get the delivery and he has to pay the price. There is no other go. Buyer cannot terminate or put an end to the contract. Cannot. Please understand, buyer cannot terminate the contract and is bound to pay for the price. Whereas in the case of default by the hire purchaser, in case of hire purchaser making a default or hire purchaser not able to pay the dues on time, then the hire vendor who is sold the goods on hire purchase to the hire purchaser, the hire seller or the hire vendor, in the case of default made by purchaser on any one of the installments. Let's take the same example, greater example, 10 installments of 1,000, 10,000, right? If he pays 7 installments, 8th installment 1,000 he is not able to pay. Then what happens is, the hire seller or the vendor goes to the hire purchaser house, take back the asset into his possession. Vendor takes possession of the assets on hire purchase, because it is the date the installment is due, but he is not able to pay the installment. So seller has every right to take the possession of the goods into his category and take the possession of the ownership into his hands and recover back the goods once he has not done. So this is the thing. Then sale governed by Sale of Goods Act 1930. Sale is always governed by the legislation, Sale of Goods Act 1930, whereas hire purchase is governed by the legislation, Hire Purchase Act 1972. Then last is price paid by the buyer is in full or installments. As and when there is a contract between the seller and the buyer, seller may ask the buyer to pay either the full price or may ask to pay in installment also. Whereas in the case of hire purchase, installment is the only mode of payment and installment consists of principal and interest. The reason why I am more specific in this point is, the buyer makes a payment of 10,000 in full, he becomes the owner of the grinder, as I said in the grinder example. In case of sale, seller makes the grinder of 10,000 sale to the buyer, buyer makes a payment of 10,000 in full, he becomes the owner of the grinder. Whereas in the case of installment, this 10,000 will be the principal, on top of that interest will be levied, and each and every installment consists of 2 portions. One is principal of 10,000 plus interest at the rate of 4 or 5%, whatever is applicable as per the normal market rate of interest that will be levied by the hire vendor. So installment will be 10,000 plus interest, whereas here the price will be only 10,000 because there is no installment. Or even there is installment, there the price is only 10,000 and no interest is levied, whereas in the hire purchase agreement, the installment, each and every installment, 10 installment will consist of principal and interest. Each and every installment consists of principal and interest. Whatever is the amount that is paid by the hire purchaser will be paid towards principal and interest, which will be apportioned accordingly based on the calculation made by the seller in the books. So this is the primary difference between the sale and the hire purchase. Students, for the benefit of you, I am again reiterating these points. In the case of sale, seller and the buyer are the 2 parties, whereas in hire purchase, hire vendor, hire purchaser are the 2 parties. Position of the buyer is that of the owner, whereas position of the hire purchaser is that of the bailey. Then buyer cannot terminate the contract as he is bound to pay the price. In the case of default by the hire purchaser, the vendor takes back possession of the goods sold to the hire purchaser. He goes to the hire purchaser house, takes back the assets into his possession, because there is a default made in one of the installments by the hire purchaser. Vendor takes back the possession of the goods. Then sale governed by the Sale of Goods Act 1930, whereas hire purchase governed by Hire Purchase Act 1972. Last is price paid by the buyer in full or installments. That will be full payment or installment payment. Whereas hire purchase, installment consists of principal plus interest portion, which is always 2 category portion. So whatever payment that is made by the hire purchaser is towards principal and interest. So that will be payment made by the hire purchaser will be apportioned to principal portion, interest portion as per relevant calculation done by the seller in his books. So this is the difference between sale and hire purchase.